Hey guys, my name is Joey. I'm the youth minister here at Big Hill Christian Church, and today I just wanted to bring you guys a quick little video about some events that happened before Jesus was arrested and then later crucified. But to talk about that, we need a little bit of background about what happened. So this past Sunday was Palm Sunday, and that kind of marked the event of Jesus's triumphant entry, where he came into the city of Jerusalem, and everybody was excited, everybody was pumped. It was a big celebration, and everybody was really excited. And then just days later, they were chanting for a known murderer to be released to them instead of Jesus. They wanted him to be crucified. So, and the interesting part about that is that while Jesus was walking in Jerusalem and seeing this celebration, he knew all the rest of this stuff was going to happen. So our story kind of goes back to that day, to the day before he was arrested and then later crucified. And there was an event that happened called the Last Supper. And the Last Supper is where he had all of his best friends together, called the disciples. They were hanging out. He gave them the first time communion was ever done in the way it is now that we celebrate as Christians. Jesus did it there at the Last Supper. And it was, I think, a really good moment for him to have all of his best friends around. And I think we can sometimes do that too. We in our moment in moments where we're facing stress, we kind of tend to surround ourselves with good friends. And that's exactly what Jesus did. And then at the end of the supper, he, like I said, did communion and then called out one of his best friends. He knew they were going to betray him. And he called them out there. And then it was a big deal because everybody was talking about how, it couldn't be them and it couldn't be that person. And Jesus had to kind of tune all that out. And the best way to do that was to go pray. So one of his favorite spots to pray was called the Mount of Olives. And it was this place called the Garden of Gethsemane, right? And so after he takes that supper, he takes a couple of his disciples with him. And they go up to the Garden of Gethsemane, and Jesus starts to feel nervous, like he gets anxiety. And I feel like we all deal with anxiety. It's one of those things that's pretty common, and it's interesting to know that our God felt nerves and anxiety as well. So in Luke 22, verses 39 and 41, it says, Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. On reaching the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them and knelt down and prayed. So Jesus needs to go pray it out. He takes his homies with him, and he to support him, and he tells them, "Hey, you all need to pray to avoid temptation, to just kind of keep on the lookout to help me." He was asking them for support, but he knew they just eaten a big supper. They were going to be tired, so he just told them to pray it out. And kind of this leads the rest of this little section of this verse here leads us into what we're going to talk about, the big thing, the thing that's normally not that exciting, right? We're going to be talking about sweat. And I know what it looks well, that was a lot colder than I thought it was going to be, and maybe an ice cube or two, I'm not sure. So I know that we know what sweat looks like. I was going to run around my house a little bit and work up a good sweat, but we all know I can be a little bit lazy. So just having some water was the quicker option. So we all know what sweat looks like. It's little beads of water that appear on our heads, and they'll roll down and they'll evaporate and cool us off, right? And so, and I know that that's a weird thing to talk about in the middle of this, but let's back up in Luke 22 at verse 42. It says, where Jesus is now praying, and we're picking back up where Jesus is now praying. It says, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." An angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him, and being in great anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. Now, a couple things to unpack here, right? Sweat like drops of blood isn't talking about the thickness or the color of Jesus' sweat. It was actually blood. Now, this is a condition that can occur in the body when the body or the mind is under an immense amount of stress. And it's the blood vessels in and around your sweat glands, they constrict, and it's called hematohydrosis. That's a larger word than I'm used to saying. So Jesus is under immense stress and asked God to take this cup from me, right? Like something was happening, and he said it was too much, and it was his death, right? But the thing is, if that's all it was, he knew that was going to be the plan from the beginning, right? And I'm not saying worrying about torture and then eventually death is not going to cause you anxiety and stress, but Jesus has been planning for that, right? Like it's been something that's been planned for since his birth and even before that, right? So there's something that's about to happen that's causing Jesus immense stress. And I feel like if we look into that, we're going to kind of be surprised about what it is. Now, when Jesus was crucified, when he was on the cross, what happened, right? Like when he was getting ready to die, what happened to him? He had all of the world's sin, past, future, present, piled on top of him, right? And what's one thing that God can't stand, can't be around, and that is sin. So God had to look away. And we see evidence of that when his dying words, like right before he died, he said, Eli, Eli, or my God, why have you forsaken me? And it was because God had to turn away from him. So for the first time in history, it'll never happen again, and it had never happened before. And we're talking about eternity, not just, the 2,000 some odd years we've been here. We're talking about eternity. Something happened for the first time ever, and that's that Jesus was separate from God. They were separated for the first time ever. How much do you value your relationship with God? Enough to make you sweat blood? I know that if I miss church, or I miss reading my Bible, or I miss, prayer time, I'm not going to sit there and freak out and start sweating blood, right? But should we value our relationship with God to that level that we look at it and we say, our relationship with God is the number one priority? And if we look at Jesus' example, and we're supposed to be Christians, and that's what we as Christians do, we're supposed to follow Jesus' example, then I feel like we should value it. So I feel like, and I'm not saying we have to be in physical anguish or we have to be to the point to where we're sweating blood and freaking out. Like if we miss one Sunday or even 18 Sundays, God's not going to be like, oh, well, I'm done with you because you're done with me. Because it's more of like a personal relationship level. So it's our effort level, right? What was Jesus's effort level? Sweating blood. It was a pretty high effort level, right? And I feel like we should strive for that same effort level. There's things that can come in, and I think it's kind of a priority type of thing, right? It's how we value our relationship with God. What things are we putting in front of him in order to miss a church, or miss reading Bible, or miss praying, right? Like what are we putting in front of it? Is hanging out with friends, video games, sporting events, practices? Is it social media? What are we putting in place of our relationship with God? And so I feel like this Easter, we need to look to Jesus as our example. We need to look to him to figure out how we need to kind of value what we do. So this Easter, I hope you have just a great time, and we're able to follow Jesus's example. So I'll talk to you guys later. Whew. That got colder, I swear. All right. You guys have a great Easter. Bye.